Going into the 2025 campaign as the Philadelphia Eagles look to go back-to-back as Super Bowl champions, this Eagles defense is getting a lot of love going into this upcoming season, and Vic Fangio has the luxury of coaching a really talented unit with a lot of upside, despite this Eagles defense having to replace more than 4,000 snaps lost from 2024 because of players leaving in free agency, getting traded, retiring, not returning to Philadelphia. And you think back to the 2024 season, what a special year it was for so many reasons, right? Legendary year from Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, fantastic once again. This Eagles offensive line, best in the NFL. Jalen Hurts played awesome football in the NFC Championship game and in the Super Bowl, winning Super Bowl MVP. Philadelphia, of course, winning their second Lombardi trophy since 2017. They're really putting the rest of the NFL on notice with their roster construction, how they operate as an organization, how they're coached, player development, and then the turnaround for this Eagles defense. They started the year very spotty. They had that bye week in week 5. Coming out of the bye week, Cooper DeJean becomes a starter. They never look back. And they were so dominant to a point where they completely flustered, confused, and dominated Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the Super Bowl. What an incredible performance. What an incredible season. Now, despite Philadelphia looking different on defense going into 2025, this is still an Eagles defense that has a bunch of young talent and core pieces that are young. And what I think is key about this Eagles defense going into 2025 is that, yes, you lose a lot of vets. You have to replace some leaders like Darius Slay and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That's not going to be easy. But unlike on the offensive side of the ball, where the offense lost Kellen Moore and you have a lack of offensive continuity as far as your coaching staff there, the defensive continuity continues. That is going to be huge for the prospects of the Eagles trying to go back-to-back and win yet another Lombardi trophy. Eagles didn't lose any defensive coaches under Vic Fangio, and so can this unit continue to get better just because they continue to be more acclimated with Vic Fangio's system? And again, the talent and the depth that is still on this Eagles team. I think that's part of the reason why All-Pro linebacker Zach Bond, who was a first-team All-Pro last year and a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, said on the Exciting Mike's podcast with Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship, he feels like this Eagles defense, despite those aforementioned losses, at this point of the calendar year, miles ahead of where they were this time last year. And really on both sides of the ball, this is an Eagles lineup that is dynamite. And if the Eagles can stay healthy, I firmly believe that they can compete for a Super Bowl. They can go on a dynastic run. Now, a couple of these positions on the defensive side of the ball, a little bit unknown, undecided. Who will be the starters at defensive tackle next to Jalen Carter, at least the starter? Will it be Jordan Davis? Will it be Moro Ajomo? Who will be the starting outside corner opposite of Quinyon Mitchell? Because I think the Eagles should and will keep Cooper DeJean in the slot. Is it going to be Keely Ringo? If not, you have Adoree Jackson, who's going to start alongside Zach Bond week 1, given the injuries to Nakobe Dean and Jahad Campbell. Is it going to be Jeremiah Trotter Jr.? Pro Football Focus has Andrew Makuba as the starter alongside Reed Blankenship. Will it be him? Will it be Sidney Brown? Will it be somebody else? So there will be some roster battles on defense specifically, because on offense, the Eagles return 10 of 11 starters for a team that won the Super Bowl. But this is still a unit that is highly respected and regarded across the NFL on defense. Pro Football Focus releasing their list of the top 10 defensive lines in football. Pittsburgh Steelers number 1, Philadelphia Eagles number 2, followed by the New York Giants, Houston Texans, Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions, Cleveland Browns, Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Rams, and the Baltimore Ravens. Here's what PFF said about the Eagles defensive line, and I'm including this because you win the game at the line of scrimmage. You win the game at the point of attack. If you could dominate the offensive line and the defensive line, you have a chance on almost every single Sunday to be victorious, and that's the unit that could really pace this Eagles defense. PFF saying Philadelphia's defensive line arguably the deepest in the league last year. As a result, even after the departures of Josh Sweat and Milton Williams in free agency, the unit remains one of the best in the NFL. On plays without a blitz in 2024, the Eagles generated pressure 36% of the time, fifth highest rate in the NFL. Jalen Carter's 84.4 Pro Football Focus pass rush grade ranked fourth among interior defenders, and Moro Ajomo's 82.4 figure placed sixth at the position. So you lose Josh Sweat, but how about elevations and continued ascent from Nolan Smith, Jalex Hunt? You also add Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche. You draft Antoine Powell-Ryland. You lose Milton Williams. You replace him with Moro Ajomo. This Eagles starting defensive line, they might be number 2 as an overall unit, according to Pro Football Focus, but their starting defensive line, the youngest in the National Football League. And this is why I continue to say the future for this Eagles team is bright. This can be a dynastic run if they can stay healthy. Jordan Davis is only 25, under contract 2 more years. Jalen Carter's 24 going into year 3. Nolan Smith, 24 going into year 3. Jalex Hunt, 24 going into year 2. Moro Ajomo is 23 still going into year 3. Ty Robinson, a rookie, 24 years old. Can't wait to see the boys up front firing on all cylinders, pacing this Eagles defense under Fangio. We're not done. This Eagles linebacking unit ranked number 1 in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. The top 5 units at backer, Eagles at 1, followed by the Detroit Lions, New England Patriots, Kansas City Chiefs, and Washington Commanders, which I think is a little bit interesting. I think other teams could vie to be in that 5th spot. PFF on the Eagles linebacking core. Again, what are we talking about here? Eagles are stout up front. They're stout at that second level. They have questions in the secondary. You know what makes the secondary's job a lot easier? Getting a good pass rush, having solid linebacker play. You like what you're hearing? Same with me. Philadelphia holds the top spot in these rankings with the stacked linebacker unit that only got better this offseason. They handed Zach Ball a well-deserved contract extension after he finished 2024 with a league-leading 90.2 PFF grade. Nakobe Dean wasn't far behind, placing 11th among qualified linebackers at 77.4. The team drafted insurance for Dean's postseason injury in Jahad Campbell, who was the 2025 class's best linebacker. Youngsters, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Smile Mondon, also provide quality depth. I like this Eagles linebacking core. I like how Howie Roseman has changed his tune with putting more of an emphasis in financial spending and putting a priority on that linebacker position. I think as NFL offenses spread out, they become more dynamic, they become faster. You need to counter that with better linebacker play. And for so long, the Eagles didn't have that. Now they do. So the number 1 ranking surprised me, but you'll certainly take it. And then in the secondary, again, you have those question marks that I talked about, but you still have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, who are number 1 and number 2 as rookies and man coverage grade last year. And I think that they can only continue to get better and continue to be backbones and pillars of this Eagles defense too. So with Kevin Patullo becoming offensive coordinator, maybe the offense struggles a little bit, but maybe the defense buys them some time to figure it out early in the year. They pace the football team, and then by season's end, Philadelphia can really be humming on offense and on defense. The Eagles defense, number 1 overall unit in 2024. Where will they rank defensively in 2025? Scale it for me from 1 to 32. 32 teams in the NFL, of course. Don't forget to give me a follow on social media. I'm always talking and posting about the Birds on X and Instagram. You can find me there at Chase_Senior, reaching millions of people on these platforms, so you don't want to miss out on my coverage there either.